last week, Stephanie, you slid in slightly a comment about a movie. Yeah, I heard you say it, but I knew I was about to watch it literally moments after our show ended. So I didn't speak on it. Terrence, you didn't say anything, but we got to talk about The Harder They Fall.
Wow.
Because that joint was banging. I truly enjoyed it. So
what'd you like about it, Rob?
I'm sorry?
I said, what'd you like about it, Rob?
I liked Regina King. Her character. I like I like pretty much every line that Delroy Lindo had. I don't want to do too many spoilers in this, but the one about the devil was just on point. And then the White Town, the White Town part. But what it was there was like, for me, there was a touch, not a touch. There were a ton of like little Easter eggs. Like, oh, did you check this out, or did you catch this, or did you see that name here, or did you see that name there? So what the movie was for me, I'm not saying it is like the Seven Samurai good, or the the Magnificent Seven good, the original, or even the one with Denzel. It was on that level for me. It's not like the greatest movie I've ever seen, but it was a good Netflix movie. So so I'm comparing it to Netflix movies that I've seen, and for that it was truly entertaining, and this is why I enjoyed it so much. It was one of those movies where I watched it and then I immediately wanted to go back and watch it again so I could pick up on the stuff that I missed. And that's pretty rare, that I can actually watch a movie and then within a week or so watch exactly the same thing, because that gets kind of boring. I was actually able to do that, and there was a lot more stuff that I picked up on that I just didn't get the first time. So I just enjoyed watching it. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes and the time just flew by.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was that long. I mean, I just love seeing Black folks on screen, and especially in, I don't want to say non-traditional, because we were in the West like we were everywhere else, but we don't get to see a ton of Black Westerns. I loved everybody in the cast. Like, I mean, Regina King can do no wrong, in my opinion, but you got Idris Elba, Lakeith Stanfield, Jonathan Majors, like literally everybody in the cast was, A-list Black folk anyway. I appreciated, or I'm making this assumption myself, just because, but I'm assuming Lakeith Stanfield's character was a homage to Doc Holliday in Tombstone, because there were a lot of similarities I felt like between their and I love Tombstone, I'll watch Tombstone anytime it comes on. And Doc Holliday, Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday, is like one of my favorite characters ever, and I feel like he played it with a lot of that same swag and nuance. So I enjoyed even if he wasn't, that's what I was thinking when I was watching him. So I enjoyed it just because, I had made up in my mind that that's what he was doing. But yeah, it was, I loved it. I thought it was really, really good. And like I said, just good to see some Black folks, on the screen doing something different.
Right. Well, I like the fact that they didn't try to make it, even though it was a Western, they didn't make it Western-y, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is they didn't try to give them the Southern drawl, they didn't give them, the references. They didn't use a whole bunch of back in the day Western references, whether it be from the way they talk. Like I meant, they didn't use the Southern slang, or they didn't have any sort of country drawl or anything like that you see in most Westerns. The music, I like the soundtrack.
Wow,
they spiced it up with some reggae, which I thought was a nice touch to, give it sort of a new vibe, but I will say I had one beef. The shootout at the end I thought was ridiculously over the top. They got these 4 or 5 people come to the center of the town, and then all these people shooting around. They couldn't hit these people, so I thought that was ridiculous. But in a Western, in a movie, it makes sense. And then, like I said, like I mentioned in the pre-show, I would have liked for them to have delved a little bit more into the backstories. So having said that, if it would have been a series where they just launched the series like 8 or 9 episodes, I'm not saying it would have done better. I just would have liked to actually get into the actual characters' backstories, because, you know, Regina King and a couple other people purposely made even in the beginning of the movie, they made the purpose to tell people these people actually existed, right? So whether or not they actually told the real stories of the characters that were kind of referenced, or they actually just told new stories out of like to really get into their back character. Because I'm in the anime, and that's all they do all day long is backstory. So that's why I would like to.
I think they probably would have got in a little bit of trouble because their characters were based on real people, but
Right.
in that context of that movie wasn't real.
It was
If
completely
you try to
fictional
expand that
with real people
more
that
not
existed.
real, you can't go real once you've been not real. And then if you try to go not real, then it's like, well, these were real people. How you got a whole series of episodes on stuff that never happened? You know what I mean? That would have been tricky to do. But I agree that it would have been nice to learn a little bit more about the actual people. But it would have been tricky to do when you're not adhering to the integrity of their history in the first place.
Or, well, yeah, true. I was going to say, or make up new stories based on the actual characters in the actual movie, you know. But then, you know, maybe some historical people would have been like,
Hope would have been because they fussed about Zazie Betz's character. I forget what the woman's name. Yeah, she was like, you know, would have been older, dark skinned, heavy set,
right?
You know, but she wouldn't have been a love interest, you know, necessarily.
Right.
For Idris Elba. So I think they, like I said, they took some liberties, some creative liberties, which I didn't have a problem with necessarily. But yeah, you can't please all the people all the time. Basically.
Right.
But no, I really enjoyed it.
I did too.
I'm like, I don't watching it.
I don't necessarily watch movies with any intention. Honestly, I really just want to be entertained. I mean, some biographies and stuff like that, you want to know what happened and everything. But for something like this, I just want to have a good time watching it, you know, have enjoyed it when I'm done and move on. It's a movie, you know what I mean?
So I will say one thing that I particularly enjoyed was Idris Elba's character and his point, what he was the reason why he was trying to do what he was doing without trying to spoil it, and the climax.
I wasn't expecting that at all
of the movie, and the fact that, you know, he came to the realization, and I don't want to spoil the story, but he came to a characterization that maybe the thing he was trying to do, he may not be the center of it. And I think a lot of movies, a lot of villains, a lot of heroes, a lot of people in general, you know, you start a movement, you join a movement, and you know, movement takes off, and then it's hard for people to see themselves, the movement move on without them. You know, I thought that was cool, to where he was kind of like, you know, this thing I'm trying to do, you know, I may or may not be able to carry this thing out, you know. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that little twist at the end, I was like, what?
I saw it coming, but I didn't want to verify until it actually happened. I'm like, see?
Like I said, I enjoyed it, and the soundtrack was banging. You're right on point with that. You know, it was, and if you listen to the music and you actually listen to the words, it was choreographed. I mean, that was actually
they
very
scored
well
it
done.
perfectly. Yeah.
You know, on just how the music was right in tune with what was going on. So, folks, if you haven't seen this yet, if you have a Netflix account, go check it out.
2 thumbs up.
I got to say this was a movie to me that was made for streaming. It was made for Netflix. I don't know that I would have gone to the movies to see it. I would have waited till it came out on streaming. The fact that it just came out right there, I think it was right on time, because there's probably a lot of folks who, I'm not really into Westerns, who want to pass on it, but because they have Netflix, I'm not doing anything else, let me go check this out. And it's like, oh, this movie was actually, you know, pretty deep and pretty good. So
I would have supported it because it was Black people, but I probably would have went to the matinee. And I used to go when I used to get my nails done regularly, before they had gels, like, you know, sidebar, if you get gels, they're dry when they're done, so you don't have to like wait for them to dry or whatever. You can put gloves on or whatever. But before people were wearing gels and just wearing acrylics, you needed time to let those nails dry and cure, really, if you really wanted to keep them looking nice. So I say all that to say, when I used to get my nails done, I would schedule my day to go to a movie after I got my nails done. So I had 2 hours to just sit and do nothing while my nails dried and cured. This would have been a nail dry kind of movie for me, and I would have enjoyed it thoroughly and been glad that I got a chance to see it at a matinee price.
A nail dry kind of movie. I can almost guarantee that no one else has given a review of the movie before. So we'll end the Harder They Fall talk with that.
It's a nail
I don't
dry
think it can
movie.
be topped.